Alright, so we're going to go over a tutorial how to get 3D objects into the Pinball Designer playfield. So by default, when you go to new file, or you save a new file, so I'll do tutorial 3, that'll create a folder structure already just now. You'll see if I close this and go, and we go into the tutorial 3 folder, you'll see there's a bunch of files or folders here. Additional assets is where all your 3D assets, textures, and information about your new 3D world get imported. So right now there's nothing in there. What I want to do first then is open Blender, and I want to save my Blender file in there. That's so that everything gets exported directly into that folder. It goes based on where you saved the Blender file. Okay, so I've loaded Blender. I want it to actually be from a blank Blender file. If you're opening a Blender file that you've downloaded from somewhere, maybe it has bad scaling or something, you want to export that mesh or get it into an OBJ format or something and then import it into a blank Blender file. So I go to File, I go Save As, and I'm going to go right into that directory I just showed you. So it's in Tutorial 3, Additional Assets, and I can just save it whatever the file name. So I'm going to delete everything in here. There's a couple objects, a light, lamp, cube. So I go to File, I go to Import, and I'm going to import an OBJ from my downloads. So I found a free 3D model. So I found this fire axe. Here you go. So if I hit N, I can see some information about it. Should show me, there we go. So when it's selected and I hit N, I can see the item information. So it has some rotation on it. The scale is 1, which is good, but this rotation we want to get rid of. So we go to Object, Apply, Rotation and Scale. And also when I hit G to grab it, you can see that the origin of this object is down there at the bottom. So if I rotate it, it's rotating around its own origin, which is wrong. You want to do Object, Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. So now the origin's right at the center of the model. So I have a 3D model that's already ready to go into Pinball Designer. So over here in the object settings, there's an orange orange square here. So that's your object properties. So in all caps, you type mesh _ instance. That means it's a 3D mesh that's going to get exported, and then instance means it's going to actually copy it into the world as an object. And then you go to the triangle here, that's the data properties, and we can give that a name. So I'm just going to name it Axe. So this is ready to go. It's going to get exported now based on my script. It picks up those parameters and then it knows it's the 3D model. It's going to grab it. So if I go into the scripting tab, I'm going to load the script that comes with Pinball Designer that I've written. Okay, so this is my export script for my game engine that I've written for many, many years now. And as long as you have the 3D model selected and you run it, it's going to export that model and some information about the 3D world. So if I go into the additional assets folder, you'll see there's axe.txt. If you double click it, you can see it's just a text version of a file format that I have that tells you about all the triangles and everything. And then go to out.txt, that's just the file that tells it about the 3D world. So it says there's a mesh, its name's Axe. Here's where it's located in the world and how big it is. So now that we have all that in that folder, it's automatically going to get loaded every time we load that pinball file. So I'm going to load this now, and you should see that 3D model load right in the center of the table. Okay, so I load tutorial 3, and there you go. My axe is there. It has no textures applied or anything. It's just right there. To apply some images under the 3D model, if you just do Shift A and add a text object here, bring it up to the top, or rotate it a bit. As you type in this text object, we're going to get some information from it. So if I edit it, type the word shader, it should be PBR, metal, MRA, and you can grab all this information from the Metallica demo if you open it, just to follow that. You have a diffuse, which is, I believe it's axe_d.jpg. You have an MRA, which is metallic, roughness, and ambient, just gives you some surface information. It's going to be axe_mra.jpg, and you have normal, which is other information about the surface, axe_n.jpg. And this object and the object properties over here is going to be called a material with all caps. And I can give it a name if I want to. You don't have to. Axe material. And then we hold Shift, click the other object and parent it to it. So now this object has a material. We're going to go grab those images now and we're going to copy them into the assets folder here. Okay, so now that they're in that folder, they're all going to get loaded as well. So I just, again, select everything in the scene and then run my export script, and it's going to go into that folder. So if I rerun Pinball Designer, it should now have that material applied to the mesh. And there you go. You got an axe that has a handle and whatnot. One other thing to note, there's no physics on this. So if I go to the physics tab, there's no physics on it, which means I can't select it because my mouse can't actually interact with it. So we're going to put some physics on it real quick. So first we're going to go over here and scale it down. We want it to be about the size of a flipper so it can hit the ball. We don't want it to be huge. So I'm going to scale this whole thing down, be about 4 inches. There you go. And then again, I told you the scale, you want it always to be 1. So we scaled it down. Let's renormalize it. So go to Apply, Rotation, and Scale. So now the 3D model is going to be exported that way. To put some, we also want to rotate it because it's going to hit the ball. So I'm going to go into Edit mode and just rotate it here 90 degrees. Okay, perfect. Now to put some physics on it, I can do Add Mesh, add a cube, and I can scale it. I can put multiple different types too. So if I want to put this here, and I can call this in the Object Properties Physics box. That means that box, the scale and everything, the information will be exported, and it's a physics object. And then over here in the data window, we want to just put the word static. And then we can hold Shift and Control Parent to the object. And we can also add cylinders. It's another shape we can use. So if I rotate it this way for the handle, move it over there. We're going to call this one Physics Cylinder. Again, all caps locks. And go to the data properties, static, and parent it to that mesh. And then we go ahead and select everything and export. And I'm going to save this. So now when we load it, it should be a 4-inch axe, and we should be able to move it around now because it has physics. And the ball should be able to hit it as well. Okay, so if I hit the physics button, you see there's the cylinder and the square. And you see I can grab this now with the mouse. See, it went a little bit under the playfield. By default, to move it up, you have to type in here, but I'm going to fix that probably here pretty soon. But if you put -3, that means up 3 above the playfield. So the ball can now slam into it. You can move it around, and you can rotate it like a normal object, and it rotates about its center point there. Alright, so what I'm actually going to do is something with this model. What I want to do is actually have it hit a magnet, and when the magnet's done, I'm going to have this thing swing. So I'm going to put the axe up here, and put a switch right here, and I'm going to put a magnet in front of it, and the code would be when I hit the switch, have the magnet turn on. Okay, so we've done this before, right? You hit the ball, turn a magnet on, release. We did this in another tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and then what we're going to do is update that file so that we can trigger a coil to swing this axe and hit the ball. So I'm back in my Blender file here. I'm going to do Shift-A to add an armature. And again, you want this also to have rotation and scaling set, so you don't want to modify that at all. You want to edit it and just change the bone. So I'm going to have one bone that starts here at the bottom of the handle, goes all the way up to the top. Object properties here, so the type for this is all caps, armature. And then here in the object data properties, we're going to call this axe skeleton. Okay, so I can take the axe now, and if I select the skeleton bone there and Control P, we're going to do armature. So we're parenting to an armature with automatic weights. And then if I click on the armature and go into pose mode, you can see that the axe will follow that bone as I animate it. So if I go up here into animation, we get this sheet at the bottom for our keyframes. And I got to move over here to see it. So on frame number 1, well, I think we usually start at frame 0, but I'm going to do I, and we're going to do location rotation. And it looks like in the newer versions of Blender, when you hit I, it just automatically puts a keyframe for everything. So you just hit I. If you go to frame 10, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, put another keyframe there, and then frame 20 is just going to come right back. So I have 20 frames of animation here, right? Okay, everything's good. I'm going to go back to the object mode. We're going to go up here into modeling. And all I need to do is put some animations on this. So I just do Shift A, add, and I'm going to add a text object. And this is just going to note the animations that I have for this animation here. So if I edit this, the first thing it needs to say is speed, which is the animation speed. I just do 30 frames a second. That's old. It doesn't even get used anymore, but it's something that my game engine requires. And then we're just going to type in axe coil on is the animation name. And then if you hit space, it's the animation frames that it is. So it's 0 to 19 or 1 to 20, whatever. And then the speed of this is going to be 30 frames a second. So if I parent that to the actual bone here, the skeleton, that's the animation set for that object. So we're going to figure out how to trigger this axe coil on animation. It's going to play those 20 frames at 30 frames a second. Everything's set up to go. I should be able to export this. So go back to scripting, zoom out, hit A to select everything, text, run script. Looks like it ran and everything's happy. So I'm going to go ahead and boot the file back up. Looks like it crashed because I didn't name it properly. So this animation stuff here, you got to go to the object window here and set it to an animation set, which is a keyword that my script reads. And we can just call it axe animations. So now that we have that set, our animation actually has an animation set that it can play. So we're going to go ahead and rerun this. Okay, so you can see my axe is still up there. Still has some physics on it. Everything's good. If I throw the ball there, it should be able to, the magnet will grab it. Now the only thing I want to do is I'm going to add a coil to that. So this is a custom user toy. So there's a coil that does some kind of animation. So if you wanted to build this in the physical world, you would have to 3D print that model, paint it, and then somehow you got to have some mechanism that has a coil that drags it and turns it on and off. So for right now, I'm going to name this axe coil. It's connected to the mech. Axe is the name of the 3D model. And what I do is go into Programming tab. That same thing. I'm going to add a new step. I'm going to move it up. So I'm going to trigger, I'm going to do a delay first because that magnet will grab it for about 2 seconds. So I'm going to delay for 2 seconds. And then I'm going to add another step that's going to say trigger coil. And that coil is going to be axe coil. And we're going to move that up right after the delay. So trigger the magnet to grab it, wait a second, and then have the hammer slam the ball. So if I run this, oh, you saw it swing, but it was really slow and it missed it. So let's go ahead and, how do we want to maybe do this? Something like this. So we can change the frame rate of that animation there. So if we go back in here, we can make that actually hit faster. Maybe we'll want that to be 90 frames a second. Re-export. Okay, so you see the ball goes up there. There's actually an issue. The physics isn't updating. The physics need to be tied to the bone. So if I close out of here and I go back in, we want to actually make these physics objects, we want to parent them here to the actual bone. So when you do, you're going to select the physics object, select the bone, Control P, and you're going to do bone. I'm going to do the same thing with the cylinder here. Now we re-export it, and it'll actually update the physics so that it matches the animation. And so there you go. Now you see it actually working. It's going to grab the ball, delay, and then it plays the animation and hits it. So if you have a custom sculpt that's kind of random like this, and it can't fit within like a box or a cylinder, all you have to do is do text right here, and you just put in the object properties. It's physics underscore use underscore MSH for mesh. The keyword mesh is used in here, so you can't use it again, so it's use MSH. And you just parent that right here, and I could just say like physics here. I'll edit it. And also what I can do here is for this object, I can type it as a mesh and leave out the word instanced. I'm just going to call this rock. It's kind of like a rock. And I can actually duplicate it with Shift D. And if I want a bunch of these, I just name them instance instead of mesh. So when I copy it, I put the word instance. I'll just do a third one just for the heck of it. So I'm going to export all this. I'm going to reload my file. And now if I load the meshes, you can see that it's actually got triangular data around the whole thing, and I can move all these three of them. And if I drop the ball on them, they'll roll around. And again, I can rotate these as well. Now if you reference the Metallica demo, you'll see they have the snake and the hammer and all this. It's all set up. You can hide the snake head with H, and you'll see there's two bones in here. There's one for the main model and then the jaw that moves. But I just wanted to take note that up here there's two animations, right? So I need a coil to open the mouth and keep it down, and then I have another coil that triggers an animation to close the mouth, right? So there's two different ones. So we're going to trigger a coil, and then it sits and does nothing, and then we trigger another coil to finish the animation, which looks like this. So when I take the ball, I hit the snake's mouth, it stays open. This should ideally be cut out of the play field. I can fix that. And then when I shoot it in, it closes, and then I open and close it again. So I played those animations twice. But what that's doing here is if I back out, I put all my coils over here. So I have a snake mouth coil and snake latch coil. So again, it adds the word on to those when I trigger them. That's why you see there's snake mouth coil on and snake latch coil on here. Now just one thing to take note of, you'll have to fix this up later if you mess up, but you need that your 3D mesh, the center point of that has to match the center point of your skeleton object. So you could fix that up later, but you should by default copy and paste right here, take that X and copy them one by one so that they're all aligned at the same spot. And then once you do that, if I have to realign the mesh, I can just drag it back over. There you go. If you don't do that, it'll export wrong and the bones will animate from wrong pivot points. So it won't actually animate from the actual root bone right here at the bottom.